Hey guys, Pi here. This is going to be my review of the 2017 Gossamer Gear the 1. This is the updated version. Me and my buddy Cheesebeard are going to be setting up both of the tents and showing you the differences between the old version and the new version. There's been some quite major changes and they've done a really good job. We both carried this tent on our CDT Thru Hikes that we've just finished. We both really enjoy this tent. It packs down small, it doesn't weigh very much, it's durable. The tent does get set up with 2 trekking poles, or you can buy the pole set from Gossamer Gear. So the original tent was 19 ounces, which is 532 grams. The new tent is a little bit heavier. It's coming in at 21.05 ounces, which is 609 grams. But honestly, for that extra couple of ounces, the changes they've made is totally worth it in my opinion. The tent is built from a very thin seal nylon. You would think it wouldn't be durable, but we were both pleasantly surprised. You do need to definitely take care of it, but it's a lot tougher than you would imagine it would be. On the original, you stake down one of the doors and it's fixed in place, but on the new one, they've basically just changed the design slightly so that you can stake out that door as normal, but then if you want to roll them away, you basically just have to tension the guy line that runs from the top of the trekking pole down to the stake. It works really well. It takes a few seconds just to figure it out, but it's a really good system. When you're setting up the tent, what you want to do with seal nylon, obviously it does sag over time, so what I like to do personally is set the tent up, and then just before I go to bed, just go around and just pull down on all the tensioners on the guy lines. Or if you don't want to do that, what you can do is just adjust the trekking poles up a little bit, which is going to give you a little bit more headroom.
So there's a couple different ways you can set up this tent. I like to not stake down the bathtub floor. That's optional for this tent. And I like to make sure that I keep the guy lines on the 4 corners of the green tarp loose as I set it up, to make sure that the trekking poles extend high enough, and that then I go back and cinch them down to make sure I have a really taut pitch.
The way that Cheesebeard likes to set it up, you only need 6 stakes, which is great. Obviously it saves you a little bit of weight. Honestly, it's just a personal preference thing. Everyone's going to want to do it a little bit different. The main thing is to just buy it and test out what works best for you. I personally prefer to set the tent up with a ground sheet regardless. You can buy these Polycro ground sheets from Gossamer Gear. I'm honestly not that big a fan of Polycro. It's really light, but it's not very durable. Honestly, what I'd recommend is just picking up a piece of Tyvek. It's a little heavier and a little bulkier, but it's much tougher and it's dirt cheap. This is how the tent is when you have this one door closed. The mechanism is a little bit tricky at first, but once you got it, it's super simple. You just undo this buckle here that releases the door, and then you've got this guy line running from here all the way down to your stake, and all you need to do is just tension that. So you tension that guy line, that then becomes taut, and then this door is completely free for you to fold away. If, for example, you've set it up this way and it starts raining at night, it's a very simple process. You unroll that door, you slacken the guy line, you clip it back together, and then you zip down the other door. Really easy. So as you can see, I'm sitting up completely as tall as I can, and I'm not touching the ceiling here. Inside here, there's a little hanging line. I guess you could dry it, or try and dry your wet clothes in here. I've personally found that never really works. But this is pretty cool. You can hang a headlamp from it or any other little accessories you want. So the only pocket in the tent is this little guy right here. Super simple, but just good to put your headlamp in, or your spoon, or a chapstick, or something like that. When it's time for bed, or first thing in the morning, I'm sitting on my sleeping pad right about here. So much room all around me. This is how I would usually eat breakfast. I'd grab it all from here, set it up, and then just sit here and chill and eat. So much space. And then when I lay down, I'll show you how much room I actually have. So that's me right here. And as I said, I'm like 5'11", probably got a foot at this end and a foot at this end. When I'm on my sleeping pad, which is pretty thick, that obviously lifts me up a little bit, but not a big deal. Plenty of room on either side of you to store extra gear or wet clothes. So one of the biggest changes they made to the updated version is that they made the foot end a little bit narrower and the head end a bit wider. This makes sense because obviously you don't need as much room at your feet. When this is staked out, it's a little bit more noticeable, but again, once you've got your pad and your sleeping bag in here, it's fine. I would say this is about 2.5 feet wide, and the head end is probably, say, 3.5 to 4 feet.
So I'm a little bit taller than Pi. I'm about 6'2", and I still have plenty of room in this tent. Lay it all out. So even with my elbows completely out, it's so wide up near the head that I'm barely touching the walls. The one issue is on a sleeping pad with your sleeping bag, sometimes you can end up touching up here, and if there's bad condensation by the morning time, you might get your toe box a little wet. A good way to troubleshoot that is if you scoot a little bit higher up towards the head end, then you have a lot more room.
So the one negative thing about this tent is it does suffer pretty badly from condensation. In my experience, if you have a single wall tent, that's just something you're going to have to deal with. You just have to make an opportunity during the day to try and dry your tent out as best as possible. The one thing I would say, this entire wall here is bug mesh, and with both doors open you get pretty good airflow on this side. But what I would do is personally just drop this bug mesh down to probably about here, so you get a little bit more ventilation, but then you also get your privacy. You know, if you're trying to change inside your tent, you can get changed pretty easily at this height, and no one can, you know, see in. Alright, so that was my review of the Gossamer Gear, the one. It's an amazing tent. If you're going through hiking or doing some ultralight backpacking, I think it's near perfect. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favour, hit the like button and subscribe, and stay tuned for some new videos.